What? Darkness, we thought you stopped doing these. You haven't done one in months. Well, yeah, listen, I needed to work a lot, and I don't have... It's fine. We're back. We're back with another Pokemon challenge. I bet you're excited. I bet you're really excited for this one. Maybe you're not. I don't know. I don't read minds, but you might... Maybe something. Yeah, Delibird. Oh boy, this was a request. And admittedly, it was actually something I was already thinking about doing, because Delibird is a little bit of a notorious gimmickmon, for being, well, let's just go over what our options are, since this is a Gen 4 run. So Delibird, by level up, learns no moves. Well, he starts with one move, which is present. Forever. That's what he learns. That's what he's got. That's what we're dealing with. The thing about present, also in particular, is that it's a roulette style move where sometimes it'll do a lot of damage. Sometimes it'll do not a lot of damage at all, and sometimes it'll heal the opponent. That's good. Now, Delibird does have some other options for TMs, but even his TM list really is not great at all, especially in Gen 4. There's not much here. It looks like a lot, but if you actually look at some of these moves, like Defog is on this list. Why is Defog even a thing? Like, we can just take that off the list and pretend that it doesn't exist. But maybe Delibird is secretly a powerhouse in terms of stats. Oh no. Okay. Alright. It's gonna be one of those runs. What's really funny about this run in particular is when I went public that I was actually doing it, I got more than one person specifically coming out and saying that this wouldn't be possible. That this isn't a doable thing. And, you know, admittedly, the negativity is just kind of asking for me to prove y'all wrong. So thank you, actually, for encouraging me, because as soon as you say you're never going to be able to do it, I'm like, oh yeah? I'll show you. And, well, I don't want to spoil the ending. Let's see what happens, shall we? Let's go over the rules like we always do. First rule is I can only use Delibird. You knew that. You all knew that. I don't even know why I list that rule. I think that's a given. Well, obviously I'll have HM slaves. Well, I could just teach Delibird defog. No, we're not doing that. The second rule, no cheating or exploits. I am dropping the no items in battle rule for this one, though. Because that is not gonna happen. I know that, you know that, we're letting me use items in battle. But, to replace it, another rule is that Delibird has to keep present. I have to keep that the whole way. Because it's Christmas! It's Christmas time. It's the Christmas spawn. We gotta give presents to people. We gotta make sure we can keep doing that. Merry Christmas, everybody!
What are you talking about? It's July! Don't you lie to me!
You know, I knew I was in for a trip when I started out fighting my rival, and I lost the first rival fight. That's how this run started. Was Kringle deciding that throwing a bomb at Turtwig was not good enough. Instead, Present failed me. And that's going to be a running theme for the first part of this run, because while Delibird, like I said, can learn a few TMs, a combination of his typing and the fact that every useful TM is presently out of my reach is about to make this an absolute train wreck. Now, Delibird is ice flying, and that doesn't sound too bad, and it's not the worst in the world, but when you've chosen a generation whose first gym is Rock, and said gym is, again, before you can get any TMs that may make this a way easier process for you, this was, oh no, Rourke absolutely decimated me. Repeatedly. Forever. This, honestly, was one of the hardest parts of this entire run, was just beating the first gym. Delibird and I had to go and grind for hours to get almost 20 levels higher than the first gym leader's Pokemon to compensate for this crippling type disadvantage. And it wasn't even that I was stuck using Present. I wasn't. I found a return TM, which Delibird can learn. Naturally, having nothing else, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because return's entirely based on how much Kringle likes me. So, since he's my only Pokemon, eventually return's going to be at max power, and it's a fairly decent attack at that point, but it's still only normal. It's not a super effective move against rock in any way, shape, or form. In fact, quite the opposite. So, this was still not a great situation for me to be in. And again, nearly 20 levels above these Pokemon before I finally managed to power through and beat Rourke. This, thankfully, would not be the case for everything in this run. Believe it or not, Kringle surprised me in a few ways. Mainly that his typing does sometimes come in handy. For example, Team Galactic's bosses tend to only use the same kind of Pokemon. These Pokemon tend to be both dark and or flying. So it puts me in a position where they can't really hit me with many super effective moves. Mainly they just don't use rock-type Pokemon, which is one of the biggest issues I have. So Team Galactic, for the most part during this run, actually wasn't that difficult for me to deal with. Neither was the second gym, because the second gym is plant. And I'm ice flying. I don't think I need to explain to you why this was alarmingly easy. It also helped that because I had to grind so freaking hard for Rourke, I am violently over-leveled for this. So this gym was an entire sweep. This was helped along by the fact that I found the TM for Pluck, which is a flying-type move that also steals berries. It's not the most heavy-hitting flying-type move, it's more of a utility move, but it was a solid advantage over plant types, as well as bug types for the future. So this move actually is going to stay with us for quite a while during this run. I'm also going to make a mention that I completely forgot about my gimmick of naming my HM Slays out of rock stars. I totally blanked on that, so I didn't do that this time. I'm sorry, I failed you, I know. And also, while we're talking about HMs, why are there 8 HMs in Generation 4? Like, Generation 4 is my favorite generation because I love Pokemon Platinum, but 8? 8 HMs! You think that's enough, guys? So yeah, that was great. Always having to run around and get HM slaves, because Lord knows I'm not giving Kringle an HM. The only one I'd even consider teaching him to surf. Oh, right, he can't learn surf. Forget that idea. Fantina did not turn out to be too difficult. She beat me a handful of times before, but I managed to power through, mostly exploiting Pluck because I couldn't actually hit her with any of my other moves. So that was great. But either way, I got through. It was fine. It was fine. It wasn't a big deal. I was over-leveled. She didn't have a type advantage. I didn't have an advantage on her, but it was fine. Everything is fine. Nobody panic. The next gym, Maylene, which is a fighting type gym, I thought wasn't gonna be a big deal. I really honestly thought it was gonna be fine because A, I went to the mall and bought Blizzard. Now, I am opting for Blizzard during this run instead of Ice Beam, which many people during the streams have called into question because Blizzard is notoriously unreliable due to its accuracy. But honestly, with the stats we're working with on Delibird, I need that extra power. It's just one of the weird situations where the extra power absolutely is worth it in comparison to Ice Beam's reliability, because Delibird, in many situations, absolutely has to insta-kill his enemy. Otherwise, he's about to be destroyed. When I'm higher level, Delibird can outspeed most things, but actually taking hits especially super effective ones, is not gonna happen. Hardly ever. This is relevant because, like I said, I thought Maylene wouldn't be too difficult because, again, I know Pluck, and flying is super effective against fighting. Okay, great. Yeah, Hermachoke knows Rock Tomb. No! Why would you... No! The only reason I won, and this was on the second attempt, just out of curiosity if I could pull it off, he missed. That worked out for me, but honestly, that was dumb luck. And I know that. And that dumb luck thing, that's about to turn into a running theme here in the future. Just let you know. Also, a bit of an off-topic thing, but well, it's totally on topic. This is the only run I've done so far where I'm having consistent issues dealing with regular old trainers. Like, not gym leaders, not the Elite Four. Those were already planned on being difficult. But, like, regular trainers, like, not even Team Galactic. Again, I have decent typing against most of their Pokemon. But regular trainers that are running Rock, or Fire, Electricity, anything like that, are giving me serious issues, especially Rock type. Rock type is the bane of my existence during this run. Anyone that throws a Rock type at me is automatically giving me serious issues. To the point that there were multiple occasions where I fainted against a regular trainer. And, you know, that doesn't happen to me very often anymore in Pokemon. Like, maybe as a kid, that would work out. But generally speaking, you know, these days I'm an adult, I've been playing Pokemon for decades. You know, I know my stuff. But Kringle's stats and a combination of attrition and bad luck and poor typing are making this way more obnoxious than I thought it was going to be when it comes to the regular trainers. Also, another thing I'm going to bring up during this run, and this is more of a tidbit for anyone thinking about doing a platinum run like this, there are occasions where you're going to be forced to bring an HM slave to places where there are double battles. That happened not super frequently, but it did happen. Now, my fix for this was most of my HM slaves always had moves that were pure defense or stat buffs, so I just had them use like Defense Curl or something, so they weren't actually contributing to the battle at all. In addition, what I also did, if I did run into a situation where I couldn't, you know, do that, I just switched them out for another HM slave every time. So either way, they were never actually contributing. In addition, I will mention, if you manage to get to a place with a double battle and you're only running the only Pokemon you're supposed to be running, that double battle will either be avoided entirely, or you'll have to fight the trainers one at a time. In both cases, you're, you know, sufficiently solving the issue. But again, like I said, there were times where I had to take my HM slave to these places. There was no way around it. So, it's not me cheating, it's just the way the game runs. Crasher Wake, the next gym in line, is a water gym. And you'd think that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It wasn't great. It wasn't a great situation. Mostly because we're again down to Delibird's just impossible moveset. I don't really have anything that can do sufficient damage against any of these Pokemon. All I have, effectively, is Blizzard. And you might be saying, aren't water types resistant to Blizzard? Yes, they are. But it still does a truckload of damage because it's Blizzard. And Delibird does have higher special attack than regular attack. So I effectively ran into a situation where I just had to hope Blizzard hit. I actually got pretty lucky and froze his Gyarados, which did not happen often during this run. I just want to stress that. It happened, but it was rare. That being said, I managed to just whittle him down, but man, this was way tougher than I thought it was going to be. And it's just because of Delibird's moves. He doesn't have any moves. I don't have anything to use against these Pokemon. Return doesn't do enough damage. Pluck doesn't do enough damage. It's a Gyarados. Just, don't even get me started on Floatzel fast and annoying, and I hate it. You might have noticed about this time that I haven't really gone out of my way to mention my rival fights. There's a simple reason for that. Effectively, he was just never really a problem. I made a slight error when I did the randomizer for this. See, I replaced Piplup with Delibird, logically thinking that they're just both birds and they're both like water, but one's ice and flying, and it's different. Well, that change actually made it so I have a type advantage against my rival when it came to his Torterra. That was completely on accident. I just didn't think it through. If I wanted to make this harder, I obviously would have gone the other way around. I would have replaced Turtwig with Delibird, and then he would have a fire type. But honestly, I don't think this inhibited the challenge of this run at all, because his other Pokemon really didn't put up much of a fight, and I have proven through this run that I can deal with a single fire type in a party if I need to. So I'm pretty sure this still would have been possible, even if I made that just a little bit harder. But I just want to throw it out there. That's why I'm not really talking about my rival very much, because, again, he just was never much of a challenge for me. Which, you think he would be? He wasn't. It's Barry. I mean, he's not... No one talks about Barry. He's got ADHD. He needs to relax. He needs to, like, right now. Also, why is defog a thing? I know I brought that up before, but seriously, it's such a worthless move that's only utilized when it comes to clearing fog? Really? Was it that important? Is it that much of a gameplay hindrance? I mean, I guess it's nice to clear it, but no! Just no! Ah! No! In addition, as I mentioned, Team Galactic overall really hasn't been much of a problem, and even Cyrus hasn't been putting up much of a fight so far. And I'm gonna just throw it out there, spoiler warning, that's a consistent thing. I never ran into a situation with this enemy team when it comes to this typing. They always seem to be carrying Pokemon around that I can effectively deal with. They don't consistently use fire types, they don't consistently use rock types, and they don't consistently use steel types. So, thanks. I really appreciate that. Byron, however, proved to be, just like his son, another wall. Byron's steel type, and again, I'm at a sufficient type disadvantage. Now, Steel isn't as bad for Delibird as Rocks are. Of course, a lot of his Steel Pokemon know Rock moves, so great. However, in this instance, unlike with Rourke, I had options. I actually could travel around and collect items, such as the TM for Brick Break. Oh, the Holy Grail. Something I can use against Rocks and Steel. Actually, a lot of Delibird's problems were solved by this one single move, and I was thrilled to death when I finally got this thing. The weird part is that Brick Break isn't even that strong of a fighting move, it's just the only consistent fighting move that Delibird can learn. Kringle can also learn Focus Punch, but that requires me to stand there and get smacked in the face. And I don't need to tell you why that's bad for Kringle. Yes, it's a more powerful move, but, you know, where Blizzard might miss, Focus Punch forces me to waste a turn. I can't afford that, so Brick Break it is. Brick Break is the reason we beat Byron so easily. I did have to grind for him too. I'm not going to dissuade you on that. It did take a bit of grinding, just like with Rourke, but once that was done, plus the extra type advantage of Brick Break, and I was able to deal with Byron no problem at all. After dealing with Team Galactic again, and again, not dealing with any real issues, we're off to the 7th gym. And, you know, I remember this area very well because it's always hailing up here, but it dawned on me as I was doing this that Delibird has a significant advantage here. Hail doesn't affect Delibird because it's an ice type. Kringle is in his element. This is hilarious because I always hated coming up here. It's a pretty area, but I hate hail. Why is it even hail? Hail is actually more common in the summer. And when you're on the map, that's clearly snow. Why are you doing this to me, Game Freak? As for the gym, well, I had forgot this until I tested it. Did y'all know fighting is strong against ice? Because it is. So I Brick Breaked everything but Frostlass. Frostlass was the only one that gave me trouble because Frostlass is a ghost. So I had to use Pluck instead. This worked because Frostlass is very fragile, so I still won. But yeah, that was the only hiccup I had, was dealing with that. Everything else, just brick break. Just brick break. Karate chop. The power of Christmas compels you, karate chop. We gotta go to Team Galactic Space, which was less about me actually winning and more about me getting consistently lost, because for some reason you have to go in the back door, but then once you go in the back door, it's not connected to the front, so you have to go back around to the front door, which is not at all what freaking Looker told you to do, but whatever. You gotta hear Cyrus give his edgy speech about how this world is imperfect. And then once you do that, you gotta fight him and you win, you save the Lake Trio, you go to the top of the mountain and you gotta fight the Team Galactic again. And actually, this was an alarming situation I was suddenly in, because I got burned on my way up here, and I decided that, no, I won't go back all the way just to fix a burn. I'll take them on. Burned. And that was bad. Really bad. I am so glad I had potions, because, yo, this was way harder than it had to be. And it was totally self-inflicted, because I just should have walked back, but I was too lazy. I was just like, no, I'm gonna make this way harder than it has to be, because I'd rather do it that way. So I did most of this part burned right up until Barry heals you, which I really appreciated. Then you go to Distortion World and deal with Giratina. Edge, and then Cyrus is edge, and then you gotta fight Cyrus, and he's like, how dare you dull my edge, and he actually wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was gonna be, because he actually has pretty strong Pokemon here, but I pretty much sweeped this whole team. It went really, really well. I was pleasantly surprised, so yeah. Also, I threw a Master Ball at Giratina. And again, I broke tradition and did not teach Giratina an HM because I didn't have any other HMs to teach him. There's something I needed to put on Giratina, so I was like, I'll just not do that. I just put Giratina in the PC. He just kind of stays there forever, eternally. Faulkner's gym proved, well, honestly, not as bad as it could have been. I do have a type disadvantage here, obviously, because we're dealing with electric, and Delibird's a bird, so yes, lightning is bad for us. But, first of all, there's a lot of members of the Magnemite family in here, and they're part steel, so brick break. But everyone else basically came down to Blizzard. Blizzard is a powerhouse, and as long as it hit, and it missed plenty, I pretty much could one-hit knock out almost anything in this gym. It was just all about getting Blizzard to hit. I managed to pull that off. Thank goodness. It was close, but I did it. It happened. It was a thing that happened. Listen, victory is a victory. Don't look at me that way. You want to fight? Anyway. And then we're off to the Elite Four. And I was actually pretty thrilled this was even happening, because when I mentioned this was going on Twitter, and people came into the stream, some people were like, I honestly didn't think you'd even get this far. And I'm like, aha! I've already proven your negativity to be incorrect. Positive vibes only with the Christmas bird in July. I always hate Victory Road. It doesn't matter what generation it is. I just never liked this part of the game. It's just like, go in the cave. That's not a road. That's a cave. Victory Road! Also, you'd think Victory Road would be nice and vibrant and really exciting. It's literally always a dull, boring, obnoxious cave with just all the strongest things possible, and you gotta take your HM slaves. It's a pain in the butt. This was a pain in the butt, again, because I have trouble dealing with regular trainers sometimes. This one dude's got a ton of rock types because he hates me. That wasn't great. Fortunately, Gen 4's Victory Road is not very long, so once I got through it, it was great. And I get to the Elite Four and have to have one last battle with my rival where he actually manages to beat me, like he did in our first battle. It was the weirdest thing. Like, he beat me the first time because I only had present. Then I had no problems with him right up until right now. And then all of a sudden he's like, haha! And I'm like, no! Why would you... Barry! Ugh, I beat him the second time. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's wonderful. We have plenty of money for full restores. we are not nearly at high a level enough to deal with the Elite Four, but we're gonna do it anyway. I had to grind off the Elite Four quite a bit during this, mostly involving one of its members. We'll get to that in a second, but that member, well, member rhymes with ember. His name is Flint. We'll talk about that in a second. Alright, so the first Elite Four member is Aaron, who uses bugs. And that I was not particularly afraid of, because flying in ice, this should be pretty simple. It wasn't as simple as I was hoping. To begin with, he has a Sizor, who's part steel. That's neat. So I can't just karate chop him, because he's steel and bug. So he was a bit of a problem. Not nearly as bad as Drapion. You're not even a bug anymore. You're dark poison. Don't you lie to me. Get out of here. I didn't have any way of one-hitting this Drapion. It was just in the way. To be fair, it didn't have a solid advantage against Delibird either, so it was basically a back and forth of who could kill the other one first. It really wasn't as bad as most other things. It was just tedious because he has a berry. I had gotten rid of Pluck by this point and replaced it with Aerial Ace because, frankly, being able to steal berries is nice and all, but I needed consistent, reliable damage, and Aerial Ace is just what I asked for. I also made it a point to go out of my way to get the TM for Water Pulse. Not to use it just yet. I haven't replaced any moves with it right now. There's a plan involved here, because Water Pulse is not a particularly strong move, but it's relevant. So we'll get to that in a second. Next up was Bertha, who's ground. Oh, goody. That means you all know rock-type moves. Yes, of course you do. What else would you? What else would that be? Rhyperior can one-hit Kringle. Every single time. So the only solution I have is to fall back of my grand gambling strategy of hoping Blizzard hits. This worked most of the time. When it didn't work, I was in trouble. But most of the time it worked, and I pretty much had to do that with all her other Pokemon that aren't named Whiscash and Golem, who... Whiscash I Aerial Ace because it wasn't very offensive, and Golem I just Brick Breaked because, But for Glysaur, for Hippowdon, and for Rhyperior, I had to rely on 3 Blizzards in a row. I did it, but man, that's scary. But you know who really gave me trouble? Like, more trouble than I ever could have imagined. Like, more trouble than ever should have been reasonable. Flint. Oh my Flint. In Pokemon Platinum in particular, he is just the worst at this typing. I have nothing I can throw at fire. This was the sole reason I got Water Pulse. But the problem with that is that even being this high a level, Water Pulse doesn't instantly put down any of his fire types. Not a single one. And I ran into a Flareon, who always one-hit killed me. I had to go back and keep going back through the Elite Four and grinding over and over and over again to try to get to a decent level to try to deal with this guy. And even then, it was down to sheer luck, because even if I could get past Flareon, because sometimes he'd miss with Overheat, or sometimes it wouldn't kill me. It just kind of picked and choose when I wanted to do that. He'd have a Rapidash, which really liked using Flare Blitz, which was actually really nice, because I could just heal, and then Rapidash would just keep killing itself. But then it had Magmortar. Oh, Magmortar. Why are you like this? Why are you... The only reason I beat this Magmortar, and I cannot stress this enough, is that I got a crit on it. Because I was stuck on this Magmortar for literal hours. It knows both Thunderbolt and Flamethrower. And the Flamethrower in particular, if one of the previous Pokemon use Sunny Day, and the Sunny Day is still active, that Flamethrower will insta-kill me. Kringle will go down to that Flamethrower every single time if Sunny Day is on the field. There's no way around that. So, I had to make sure I got the Magmortar with decent HP, and hoping that neither Houndoom, who basically never did it because I could instant-kill him with Brick Break, or Rapidash use Sunny Day. And Rapidash really liked using Sunny Day. Really, really adored using Sunny Day. Again, it was a lucky crit that got me past this Magmortar. The final Pokemon alarmed me, which was an Infernape, but it also really loved using Flare Blitz, so I just kind of let it kill itself until I finally put it down with a Water Pulse, and I got past Flint. But this was a trial. This was an eternal suffering of me trying in vain to get past this one guy because his typing was just too much. And it really hit home just how bad Kringle's stats are when Water Pulse, while again, not the strongest water move, if I had decent stats, should be putting these things down. It wasn't. It just wasn't. Now you might be saying, I noticed you're not at level 100. Did you ever think to go back and grind to level 100 like you did with Paris? Yeah, I did. Also, I didn't, because I had a point to prove that this was doable without going all the way. Because I'm a tryhard like that. Just let me be, okay? Don't question it. I did it. I did it. It's a thing that happened. You want to fight about it? You want to go? Do you want to start something with me? Who do you think you are, random internet user? Actually, you're probably a great person. Has someone told you that today? You seem like a nice person. I just want you to know that. I don't think anyone's told you that today. But you're watching this video, you're enjoying it, you're a good person. Just so you know. The fourth Elite Four member, Lucian, is Psychic. And at first, I wasn't concerned about this. He doesn't have solid typing against me. Well, I don't have solid typing against him. Blizzard's strong. I actually brought Ethers with me, so I could still use Blizzard against him. Except, first of all, he had Bronzong. Now, Bronzong isn't very strong offensively, but it's part Steel, and because it's also part Psychic, again, Brick Break was not very much help against this thing. And being Steel, it's also resistant to Blizzard, because of course it is. What else would it be? I don't know what I expected. So it was always in the way, but the real issue with this fight was Gallade. Not because Gallade is particularly strong, but Lucian's Gallade knows Stone Edge. Oh my good gravy. Are you? Why? Ah! This was such a pain. What I effectively had to do, see, up until this point, I've been switching items that Delibird had been holding, trying to get a decent combination based on the situation. I had to use Never Melt Ice, because what I needed to do was improve Blizzard's strength enough where, here was my plan. Hit him with a Water Pulse, which wouldn't do too much damage, but it would do enough damage where a boosted Blizzard at this level would be enough to kill him. The idea was then I would have to at least survive a single Stone Edge. This also required me to get to him with max HP, because if I was hit by anything, and I mean anything prior to that, Stone Edge would always be guaranteed to kill me. Alternatively, Stone Edge can miss. It happened fairly frequently, to be perfectly honest, but because I never knew it was going to do that, it was impossible for me to predict anything. This exact kind of situation is the reason why I did not opt to do a no items challenge with Delibird, because I honestly don't believe that in particular is, well, it might be doable, but you're going to have a really bad time with it. Getting through this part of the fight with no items, at least at this level, would have been completely impossible, because Delibird just takes way too much damage. Once I got past Gallade, which didn't take as long as Flint, to be fair, both Alakazam and Espeon were not much of an issue. Thank goodness. But then it's on to the main event! The final challenge, Cynthia. One of the best and most beautiful champions ever to grace the Elite Four. Yeah, I beat her on the second try. Oh yeah, I was surprised too. I threw a present at Garchomp, just because I could. You want to know why that happened? So, I didn't think about it until I got there. But, because her team, while it is well balanced, it's centered around Garchomp. And the one thing her team has trouble with is Ice. Delibird is placed in the unique position of having a solid type advantage against almost everything Cynthia has in her team. The sole exception is Lucario. And you know what? I just brick breaked him. He also knew Stone Edge, but he missed. So, not relevant. I just brick breaked him again. It was fine. Every other one of her Pokemon went down to a Blizzard. And I'm pretty sure all but, like, 2 of them, it was a super effective move against them. That's how much Ice completely messes up Cynthia's team. I know! I really didn't think about it because I was so worried about Flint the whole time. I wasn't even considering how Cynthia was going to be, and when I got here, I was like, oh! Have a present, Dragon Boy! There you go! Merry Christmas!
I am Champion Christmas!
And I did it! This is doable, guys. Now, I wouldn't recommend it, because, wow, this was a nightmare. I'm not even going to argue against that. This was one of the toughest runs I've ever had to do so far. Paris was pretty rough, but the thing that differentiates Delibird from Paris, that Paris at least has a viable moveset. Paris has a lot of options in terms of moves. Delibird doesn't have that. What you're looking at, this Delibird that ran, well, minus the present, Brick Break, Water Pulse, Aerial Ace, Pluck early on, and Blizzard and or Ice Beam, if you prefer reliability, that's a Gen 4 Delibird's max tier moveset as far as I'm concerned. There were a few other options that he had via the move tutor, which I didn't actually take advantage of, so you might be able to find a little bit of a better build, but this was like optimum strategy for what I was dealing with as far as I was concerned, and it was still an absolute rough ride. But Kringle, you did it! You proved everybody you could do it, you proved everybody wrong, you can use Delibird, it's doable. I love Delibird now. That's the nice thing about these challenges. I always feel like I've bonded with the Pokemon that I've used. You know, even if, you know, they aren't considered the strongest, in Delibird's case, they're considered one of the weakest, one of the most worthless Pokemon around, but I don't like to consider any Pokemon worthless. Anybody can use a Pokemon in a weird way. Like, you can do it. You just gotta be creative with it. You gotta use your mind. There are ways to bring out the best and even the weakest among the Pokemon. And you know what? That goes for humans too. I know we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes you wake up and you feel like you just can't do it anymore. That you will never amount to anything, and that you will forever be worthless, because that's how you feel. But you know what? I don't know who's told you that all your life. Maybe it's just you telling yourself that. But I don't care who you are. You're not worthless. You just gotta know where your strengths are, and exploit them, and believe in yourself. Everyone in this world has a purpose. I personally do believe that, and I believe that as long as you apply yourself to your strengths, and know what you're good at, and do well in it, and try to do what's best for the world around you, then the world in itself will become a better place. Just throw out toxicity, or being cruel to others for no reason, and just accept people and their faults, and try, at the very least, to always empathize with people, and understand where they're coming from. If we did more of that, I think things would be a lot better. Also, I don't know why I always end these with some kind of worldly wisdom. I'm turning 30 this week. I am getting old. Somebody help me. In any event, this challenge is over. If you guys want to see more of these, let me know. And if you have any more suggestions for other challenges, also let me know down in the comments. Also, yeah, you should like this video and subscribe, unless you hate me. In which case, don't do any of those things. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.